Acorn crop. I went on a little adventure this weekend and got my Daith pierced. Isn't it neat? Isn't it cute? It is, I think, very cute. However, the reason I did it was because I am a migraine sufferer, as are, I believe the statistic is 1 in 4. And I wanted to get this piercing for a while, but I wasn't sure, because I was like, does it work? Does it not work? I'm not really sure I want to get another piercing if it doesn't actually work. And I talked to a friend of mine a couple weeks ago who just had hers done, and she said it was great and that it really helped her. So I was like, all right, I gotta do some research, and there are no scientific studies. All the evidence is purely anecdotal. It works off the principle of acupuncture, which I think is kind of strange, because I don't think acupuncture is strange. I think that it works off acupuncture. That being strange, because with acupuncture usually they put needles in you and then take them out and you go home and everything's fine. But with this, you're just putting it in and leaving it in. And I would also assume that it would have to be a much more specific place than just, you know, anywhere on your daith. I mean, granted, the daith is not a big part of your ear, but it still seems like maybe that's not really gonna work out that well. In the research that I've done to try and figure out why it might work, it appears that there's like a big nerve cluster right here, or nerve ganglion, and maybe poking a hole right back here, since it's so close, has something to do with it, but there's really no scientific evidence. But I decided either way, you know, if it helps, great. If it doesn't, then I have a nice, cute piercing, a new one. And I wasn't going to get pierced again. Let me tell you, after my industrial, which for a lot of people is really painful, but for me was a piece of cake, I was like, I'm done. These are all the piercings I want. I have my nose, my tongue, this side, and that's it. I don't need any more. And then I decided to go get the daith. Now, I went out to eat with my roommate, and I was going to have her come with me and film it, and then at the last minute I kind of decided not to, and actually I'm really glad I didn't, because I went to 3 different shops, 3, to find a piercer. And the first shop I went to was like within walking distance to my house, and I said, hey, do you guys have a piercer? I said, oh, I want to get my daith pierced, and they're like, we don't have a piercer. We actually haven't had a piercer for 2 years. And I was like, wow, that's really weird. I have never walked into a tattoo shop and there's not been a piercer at all, ever. So I went ahead and I went to another one, and I walked in, and the first thing I said was, do you have a piercer? And they said, no, not at this location, but at our other location. It's on this street, blah, blah, blah. And so I decided to try and find it, and on the way to finding that one, I found a different one, which I actually had been looking for, which I walked in, they said they had a piercer, he was actually standing right there. And shops are really different now. When I went and got all my piercings and stuff done in shops, you walked in and I don't know, I don't want to say they were seedy, but they weren't like really decorative. They didn't look like, you know, with the jewelry under, you know, pretty lights, like when you go to a jewelry store. There wasn't like a nice couch for you to sit on. It was like hard plastic chairs, and you could look at, you know, tiles and tiles of flash and, you know, all this stuff. And oh no, this place was super nice. They had all the jewelry on display under pretty lights that made it all gleam, and, you know, all this stuff. And I was like, wow, this has really changed. I guess tattoos and piercings being so popular really changed things. He took a straight needle and bent it, which I'm not totally sure I agree with that, because I feel like that would cause creases in the metal, which would be more painful to drive it through, but what do I know? I'm not a piercer. So he laid me down, and I'm going to use this side, of course, because it doesn't have anything in it and I can touch it. And I thought he went from the top down, but now in looking at this piercing, it looks like he went from the bottom up. Now, the only reason I make any kind of statement about that is because it looks like up here on my ear right here, there's a little cut. So I think he nicked it with the tip of the needle. And it was really weird because I'm laying there, he's put it in, and then I feel like he's pulling my industrial, and I'm like, why are you pulling that? And then it hurts. And this piercing's been healed for a long time, and it doesn't hurt. You know, as pain-wise, this was one of the more painful, if not the most painful piercing I've had. I don't even think my nose was that painful. You know, I hardly felt my tongue when that one was done. You know, these ones, I don't think they were that painful either. This one seemed really painful. So, you know, and some people say it's a breeze, some people say it hurts. For me, it was quite painful to get it done. However, once it was done, it was done. It didn't really hurt after that. I will warn you, if you are going to go get this piercing, it bleeds. Like, I bled all over, you know, and I'm still, like, this is 6 days later, I'm still, you know, I'm still finding blood on my cleaning implements and stuff, so it's a bleeder. At least for me it is, maybe not for everyone else. When I was getting pierced, at least I thought I felt blood run into my ear canal, and then my hearing became muffled. You know, like if you get water in your ear, or if you're on an airplane or something and you need your ear to pop. And from my understanding, that's totally normal. Everyone I've talked to has had that happen to them, and they say within a couple weeks your hearing returns to normal. One lady told me that as soon as she changed the jewelry, that brought her hearing back to normal. So don't be alarmed. They haven't deafened you for eternity. It's just something that happens with this piercing. So for care tips with any piercing, I recommend salt water. Although I've heard piercers say, no, don't do the salt water. Well, as far as I'm concerned, do the salt water. There's something they tried to sell me in the shop called H2 Ocean that's supposed to be really good, but I didn't buy it because I feel it's kind of like a racket. So I don't, if they're like, here, buy this, I'm like, no, fuck you. Which maybe I shouldn't do. And the reason I'm like that is because back in the day, I was sold this product called Tattoo Goo. And I don't know if it's even still out there. But apparently, it doesn't work with color tattoos. And this is one of the few color tattoos I have. And it made it look like it was infected. It made it like the ink puff up and look like it was going to run off my arm. I mean, it was a mess. And I went to my tattoo artist and was like, what's going on? And he said, yeah, we're getting a lot of complaints. Stop using that. And they discovered, I guess when they researched it, that it didn't work well with color tattoos, the colored inks. I don't know if they've changed it. I don't even know if the product's still out on the market. They may have changed the formula. So, I mean, you probably shouldn't be like me unless you have had piercings and tattoos. Do what they say. Don't be like me and say, no, fuck off, I'm going to do what I want. So I did not buy the H2 Ocean. However, I'm hearing that it's a really good product. I do saltwater soaks. And I also use HibaCleanse on my ear. I actually use HibaCleanse prior to getting the piercing, then he cleaned it off, then pierced it. I use the HibaCleanse once a day. I think the HibaCleanse is supposed to be a pre-treatment, like, because it was used, what doctors used to use to scrub up for surgeries and stuff. And a friend of mine just had a surgery and they told her to buy it to clean the area that she needed to have surgery on prior to the event. So I'm probably not supposed to be using it afterwards, but it's what I have. I would recommend a Provon. I think you can get it on Amazon. That's a really good piercing cleaner. I almost even don't want to use any of that stuff on there. I typically use salt water more than anything else. And this particular spot's nice because it's a bowl, and so I just soak a cotton ball and stick it on there and, you know, let it soak in there and I do this for 5 minutes, and I don't know why 5 minutes is the number. I think it just worked out well for me that way, I don't know. And then afterwards I don't do anything, but I do have a spray bottle, and I think this is the key to my success with my industrial, was the top was healing, like the top part up here, and then the outside part and the inside part here, but the inside part up here wasn't healing. And I started using a spray bottle because I thought maybe there was soap residue stuck in there, and so I was using the spray bottle to try and drive it out. And that may have been the problem, I don't know, but as soon as I started doing that, the inside of the industrial under the fold healed up perfectly, wonderful. It did take a year to the day, and I'm assuming this one's going to take a year to the day or more to heal. And cartilaginous piercings just take a long time. Alright, my little acorns, with that, good night, America, wherever you are.